Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's going on? It's New Year's Eve 2020, man. December 31st, the last day of 2020. Last day of the year, man. It's been an up and down year. A lot of, world news and world events and crazy shit going on all year long, man. And I hope that, obviously, if you're watching this video, you made it through. And I hope that everybody was able to come out of this year with some type of positivity, some type of growth, mentally, spiritually, physically, just all the way around the board, man. And, able to go on into 2021 with a new and improved mindset and ready to elevate, pretty much. You dig what I'm saying? But I want to talk about the trainer of the year and the fighter of the year for 2020. And this, we know that these awards are all opinion based. We know that there's really no way to gauge this shit from, metrics and numbers and statistics and all this different type of shit. You really just got to use common sense, and you got to use logic and reasoning and understanding, and, take the hate and all of the bullshit out of it for you to come up with a reasonable selection for trainer of the year and fighter of the year. Now, as far as trainer of the year, I can talk in depth on that, but I don't think there's really a question on who should be the trainer of the year. Derrick James is the only trainer that has 2 unified champions in the entire sport of boxing. The only trainer with 2 unified champions, and Jermell Charlo unified his titles this year, and Errol Spence, coming off of a near fatal car accident, came back and defended his 2 titles versus future Hall of Famer Danny Garcia this earlier this month. And both guys put on fantastic, dominant performances. Both guys were victorious, of course. Derrick James has been nothing short of genius since he stepped on the scene. He's been an immaculate teacher and just master of the craft of the sweet science. He's a guy that's very cerebral, very thoughtful. When he speaks about boxing, he don't just give it to you from just a cut and dry perspective. He really breaks it down to the point to where you can understand it, and he talks about the sport from a knowledge perspective, not based off of feelings, not based off of random ass ideas, anything like that. He gives it to you from a knowledge, fact-based, fundamental, and technical standpoint every time. When you listen to a Derrick James interview and listen to how he breaks down fights, how he breaks down game plans for Errol Spence and Jermell Charlo, and how his eye when it comes to the sweet science. He's a very, very calculated and intelligent coach, and he's a teacher. He's more than just a coach. He's more than just a trainer. He is literally a teacher of boxing, and that transcends beyond any type of just boxing training or fitness coach, anything like that. He does it all. Derrick James is the real deal. And I don't think that there's any other coach that you can put in that category for this year. Derrick James is head and shoulders above the competition at this point. And I don't think anybody should argue that. But hey, they got Ring Magazine out here just giving trophies away to guys with Latino last names and shit. You feel me? So but that's what motherfuckers do. We ain't talking about that. We speaking from a realistic standpoint. You dig what I'm saying? So Derrick James is the trainer of the year for 2020 as far as Contender Regime boxing is concerned. You feel me? So let's talk about fighter of the year. Now, fighter of the year, with this year 2020, with the pandemic, the lack of fights, and pretty much boxing being cut off for half of a year, I would say at least 5 to 6 months, boxing was like shut down as most of other major sports were as well, right? This makes it difficult with the lack of fights and performances from fighters and a lack of opportunities to really say who was fighter of the year, because you got some guys that normally fight twice a year, some guys that normally fight 3 times a year. Hell, there's some guys that fight 4 times a year, and everybody was limited for the most part to just one fight. Now, there were guys who were able to sneak in a fight early on before the pandemic really started to go crazy, like January, February, they was able to get a fight in and then come back on the back end of this year and get another fight in, you know. But for the most part, everybody fought one time this year. So with that being said, you know, there's a lot of different guys you can consider. You can consider Teofimo Lopez with his huge win over a pound for pound top fighter, Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? You can look at Terrence Crawford with his immaculate performance versus Kell Brook. You can look at Earl Spence coming back from the accident and dominating Danny Garcia in more dominant fashion than he's ever been beaten in his entire career. You can look at Jermell Charlo, who at the back end of 2019, December 21st, I believe, he, in a rematch, defeated Tony Harrison to get his WBC title back, and then turned right back around September of this year when he could have fought anybody, but he chose to fight the unified champion, Jason Rosario, after many people picked him to lose and many people said that he would duck Jason Rosario. He went out there and stopped the guy in dominant fashion. You dig what I'm saying? You could talk about Tyson Fury, who defeated the great Deontay Wilder earlier this year in a rematch. You can talk about, you know, Canelo Alvarez, who got a victory versus fucking Callum Smith. You could talk about Gervonta Tank Davis, who has probably the highlight of the year with his uppercut knockout versus Leo Santa Cruz. There are many different guys you can consider, but all things considered, my 2020 Fighter of the Year award has to go to Jermell Charlo. That honor, in my opinion, it goes to Jermell Charlo. If you look at the fact that 2019, the last literally just days from being 2020, he defeated Tony Harrison in a rematch. The first fight, a lot of people felt like he won. He felt like he won the first fight, you know, but a lot of, you know, drama ensued. There was a lot of different talk about, you know, whether or not Jermell Charlo was as good as people think he is. And, you know, Tony Harrison's just a better boxer. There was a lot of people jumping on the Tony Harrison bandwagon, just saying, like, look, I like this kid. Just because they hate Jermell Charlo, now they want to say, oh, well, you know, Tony Harrison, I like him. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fan. I'm a root for him now, which is cool. But going into the rematch, Jermell Charlo was the underdog because everybody was rooting against Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo go out there and he knocked him down in the second round. He continued to be steadfast, stick to the game plan, put his punches together, be patient, and he outworked and outlanded when it comes to the more cleaner and effective shots versus Tony Harrison, and ended up stopping him when Tony Harrison got a little too confident, you know what I'm saying, a little too cocky, you know, and he got a little too loose on defense, and he got stopped in the 11th round. In a beautiful fight. That was a great fight. That was an action-packed fight. The first one was good, but the second one was even better. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to see a third fight, a trilogy with Charlo versus Harrison. That's a great matchup there. I love it. And there's that history there as well. So he did that in December of 2019. I'm putting that in 2020. To me, that goes into 2020. That was just days away from 2020. And you look at what that led to, that was him getting his WBC title back. And then that led to him, you know, Jason Rosario beat Julian J. Rock Williams to become the unified champion with the IBF and the WBA. So Jermell Charlo said, look, I want to fight that guy next. A lot of people said that Jermell Charlo would duck Jason Rosario. And again, you had another case of people jumping on the bandwagon because they dislike Jermell Charlo for whatever reason. When Jason Rosario got the titles, everybody was saying, shit, Jason Rosario gonna whoop Charlo ass. He gonna stop him. He too big. He's too strong. He gonna walk him down. He gonna beat him up. You know what I'm saying? You had everybody jumping on the Jason Rosario bandwagon again. You even had people saying that Jermell Charlo was gonna duck the guy when in actuality, they asked Jason Rosario and his team about fighting Jermell Charlo immediately after his Julian J. Rock Williams victory, and they were reluctant to say or confirm that they would be willing to fight Jermell Charlo. But people still tried to peg Jermell Charlo as a ducker. Crazy, right? So they ended up, the pandemic happened, and as I stated in previous videos, that this pandemic was gonna force guys to like, hey, fuck the bullshit. Let's get to it. You know what I'm saying? So whatever happened in between that time, Jason Rosario said, look, all right, we gonna fight this dude. Let's go ahead and do the unification. Jermell Charlo bet. You know what I'm saying? Unification on pay-per-view, on the bright stage. He went out there, he fought beautifully. Put together, him and Derrick James had the best game plan. Fighting on the back foot and setting traps for Jason Rosario, allowing him to walk in and get hit with crazy shit. And he dropped him in the second round, and then he dropped him again in the 6th round, and then ultimately stopped him in the 8th round with an unorthodox jab to the body and had the dude on the ground having a seizure. You know what I'm saying? Looking crazy, looking fucked up out there. You know what I'm saying? Dominant performance by Jermell Charlo. He becomes the unified champion with the WBC, WBA, IBF, the ring belt. And I mean, that's damn near undisputed until, Teixeira and whoever gonna be holding that WBO belt until they decide that they want to get in the ring with Jermell Charlo. He is the champion of the 154-pound division, which is probably the most competitive division in the sport of boxing. Everybody fights everybody. Ain't nobody ducking no smoke. And all those guys, they getting it on, and we really finding out. We know who the best now because everybody fighting. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no marinate, no fight. Now, the only fight that didn't happen was the Jarrett Hurd and Charlo fight, and that was on Jarrett Hurd. You know what I'm saying? Jarrett Hurd decided that he was big shit, and I want to let that shit wait, let it marinate for a second, and he ended up getting knocked out by Julian J. Rock Williams, which was a classic fight of the year type of matchup. Great fight. But everybody at 154 is fighting. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no ducking and dodging. Everybody over there fight, with the exception of maybe one guy. You know what I'm saying? And even that guy is fighting the other guys. You feel me? So we getting all the matchups that we want to see at 154. And Jermell Charlo has emerged as the best fighter in that division. In my opinion, Jermell Charlo is the fighter of the year for 2020. He put on the best performances and he accomplished the most, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I'm interested to see what y'all think, man. Who y'all feel was the fighter of the year for 2020. And I don't even think I have to ask y'all who was trainer of the year. I think everybody here knows who the trainer of the year for 2020 was. Derrick James, no question, no debate whatsoever. But down in the comments, man, y'all give me y'all trainer of the year and fighter of the year. And tell me why, man. Contender Regime, boxing, I'll holler at y'all boys, man.